Okay, hello everyone. I'm, as was said, Carl Beek from the Ethereum Foundation. I'm an Ethereum researcher. Been working on the Beacon chain for the last several years. And today I'm going to talk to you about what I'm calling the Prysm Problem. And yeah, so let's dig in. Before we get going, I think it's worth stating that I love Prysm. I love the Prysm team and Prismatic. I think they do fantastic work. This is not about them in particular, but more about some of the issues we face that I'll dig into now. Okay, so Ethereum proof of stake works a little bit differently to proof of work from the perspective of forking, and that's that we have these magic thresholds of 1/3 and 2/3, where we can finalize information and add it to the chain or not, depending on whether enough people agree. So if we have agreement with a majority with 67% of people, then any small fork that happens has basically no effect. But where it gets more interesting are in these intermediate zones, where you could have a fork and some of it works, some of it doesn't, and now the chain itself is unable to decide what is the canonical chain to finalize. And in the extreme case, we have the where the chain is a bad chain has more than 2/3, right? So the good people are only a third of the network, and this allows for them to finalize something bad, which basically would require us to manually go in and fix something. We really don't expect this to happen, but these are some of the eventualities we plan for. So how does client diversity tie into this? And that's from the perspective of bugs. What happens when you have a bug in the code, right? Humans write code. These clients, although they're very robust, have been written by humans, so there may be bugs. If we're in this first case and there's a bug and the client only has a small fraction of the network, then we sort of ignore the bug and the chain continues on. If there's a split and it's about half-half, then the bug chain will persist as long as alongside the valid one, but eventually that will get resolved. And in the bad case, we could accept a chain with a bug in it, and that again would require us manually to fix it. We have incentives to try fix this within the beacon chain. So if you're if it splits in two and you're on the chain with a bug in it, then you're going to start. Depends on what the bug looks like. If it just causes a fork, you're going to start losing rewards, and those rewards increase over time. And if there's a major bug that causes slashing, and you're running a client that has more than 1/3 of the validators, then you're going to lose all of your ETH at stake. So you really want to be running a client with less than 1/3 of the validators. So what does it look like in the beacon chain right now? Well, it's kind of terrifying, to be honest. This is the distribution of nodes approximately, and as we can see, Prysm has somewhere around 76% of the nodes, which is really suboptimal. Using some interesting techniques, we can also analyze roughly how many validators there are. This looks quite a bit more optimistic. We can see at least Prysm's below the magic 2/3 threshold, but again, this is suboptimal from the perspective that there's still way more than 1/3 and dangerously close to that region. All these numbers are a bit vague because by design, we can't actually track people. So we're looking at external factors that allow us to try to figure out who's running what clients. So I've termed this the Prysm problem, which is that we're currently residing in this danger zone here, right at the 2/3 mark, right at the 2/3 mark of Prysm, where potentially a bug in Prysm could cause the beacon chain to halt and to accept non-valid blocks. I've heard this said a lot, that there's a potential to delay the merge. I personally don't believe it, but it will come down ultimately to what the community demands. If everyone decides that this is unacceptable to have a massively dominant client, then we could do this, but I don't think it's worthwhile. Some of the ways we got here, ultimately, I don't think is that important. And of all of these these points, the other clients now have adopted strategies and basically offer exactly what Prysm offers on these fronts. Some other reasons we've heard why people choose Prysm. I like the name Prysm, which is fair, but ideally not. Another thing that's been quite interesting to see is institutions have come back with that they figured Prysm was the most secure network, the most secure client, and that's honestly terrifying, right? As a larger institution, people have entrusted their money to you, and they are taking part of your rewards, and for that you expect them to do some due diligence. They're literally earning millions for the service, and they're not. And I think that says a bit about their where their incentives lie, and I think we need to demand better of this. So how can we address this? If you are a home staker, I'd highly encourage you to try a new client. It's really not as difficult as you thought. I know the setup process initially could be a bit harrowing for some people. It took me several hours, and hell, I wrote part of the specification. But it's not going to be so bad if you decide to switch now, because you're already familiar with a lot of the concepts. You don't need to generate keys again. You already have that. So it should be a relatively seamless process to do. You know what beacon nodes are. You know how to open ports, all these good things. And we now have excellent standards for slashing databases, which means you can really do this in a way where you can assure yourself that you'll be safe. I think a very important thing, given how large some of these institutions are, is to demand that institutions use multiple clients. If you're going to be giving them your money and essentially paying them to provide you a service, they should be transparent with how they're doing it and not putting your capital at risk. You can still help secure the network through these institutions, provided that you demand that they are better. The Estaker team have done some amazing stuff, and I saw some demos yesterday of the GUI they're building, the graphical interface, so you shouldn't have to go through the command line to install any of these clients in the future, which is really incredible and should help open out the number of people who can stake. Peer pressure is another interesting way. If you know your friends are running a dominant client or Prysm at the moment, shame them, try and encourage them to switch clients. It'd be really cool if we could get them to move away. And the final point here is that we're seeing these decentralized staking solutions gain a bit of popularity at the moment, and this is really exciting. We had Rocket Pool launching recently. Obel announced last week, I believe. There's SSV Network, a bunch of others I'm forgetting right now, Lido, and that's fantastic for this network. But let's try and make sure that they are also choosing a diversity of clients. They're selecting many different clients, not only one, to help strengthen the network, because ultimately the decisions we make right now will help us go forth with a stronger network. Finally, as a staker, it's literally your job, right? You receive rewards from the network. Part of that's for locking up your ether. Part of that is for the electricity and the hardware you need to run it, and part of that is because you need to spend the time and effort to help decentralize and secure the network. And there you need to make sure you are choosing minority clients to help improve this network security. Ben Edgerton did some work back in July and August comparing the relative profitability. I don't know how accurate these numbers actually are, and note the x-axis here, right? It doesn't go to zero, so it's not massive here. But it's interesting to see that from Ben's numbers that Prysm isn't even the most profitable client. So there really is no reason to choose it given the current state of the network. So which client should I run? What are your options? To be honest, they're all fantastic. No matter what you pick, it is a robust piece of software written by some of the best engineering teams in the open source world. And they've all been audited by multiple people. You will be remarkably profitable no matter which you pick. So pick something that resonates with you, that you find easy to install, whatever your metric is, just ideally not a dominant client. Yep. So some of the options, Nimbus, it's designed to be as lightweight as possible. It's written by people who write mobile software, so they really know about lightweight. So if you're on older hardware, maybe that's struggling to run your beacon node a bit, this is a good option. Or you really care about the electricity you consume, another fantastic choice. Teku from the outset was designed to make it really easy to have thousands and thousands of validators and to rapidly scale that back and forth and change between nodes. So if you are looking for a client that might help you with a bit more complicated setup and you're responsible for lots of ETH stake, then Teku might be an interesting choice. Lighthouse, the team behind Lighthouse is literally a security firm. If you care about security above everything else, then Lighthouse would be a fantastic choice. And as you can see, all these three clients have Windows support, which I know was a limiting factor for many people in the past. So pick your client. It doesn't really matter. They're all fantastic, but these might be some other reasons to help you decide. Something interesting, we're probably closer than you think to actually addressing this because so much stake is held by exchanges, by demanding better transparency, shouting at them on Twitter, whatever your in is there, we can hopefully budge the needle towards a better decentralization and less Prism, given the current network. I think this is quite telling. So this is the ongoing Estaker survey. This is it's not perfect. The data's still rolling in, and we know some flaws. But I think as a rough idea, we can see that the home stakers really do care about decentralization. This graph looks a lot better than anyone else, than any of the previous ones I've shown you. We can see that sure, Lighthouse and Prism have more than a third each, but at least no one has 2/3. And we see some decent representation from some of the other clients, which really excites me to see. And I think it's a sort of fantastic way that we're moving forward. So thank you very much. These are the links that will help you go to direct guides to convert from Prism to any one of the other clients. You're welcome to choose any three of them. And if you get nothing out of this talk, go shout at your favorite exchange or institution to please go and improve the decentralization. Worry about the things that you care about as an ETH holder, right? You care about the future of the network. We want to promote that. So how can you make them care? Vote with your wallet. If they are being open and have reasonable policies, then encourage their staking services. Otherwise, please rather not. Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you.